The Chairman, Fiji Airways, Mr. Rajesh Punja, the CEO, Mr. Andre Guillaume, and management and staff. I know your CEO has said you're all the stars, but I also want to acknowledge the other stars from Hong Kong 7th. It was obviously a fantastic win for us, but it also demonstrates the rising performance of Fiji as a country in the international space. And what we are here today is why we are gathered here today is essentially to celebrate that ability of a small Pacific Island state's national carrier to actually come out from the throes of essentially nearing bankruptcy only a few years ago with phenomenal losses, and having that converted within a very short period of time into very acceptable and reasonable profit margins with a shared ability of the staff to have a slice of those margins is quite remarkable. So I think we all really should put our hands together for yourselves. Please do that, because it could not have been achieved. Whilst a government may bring about reforms, it may bring about laws to bring about a facilitating environment, the reality is at the end of the day, the delivery of that particular service needs to be done by the people in that very industry or that organization, and you have actually done it. And before I actually go into other aspects of what I would like to say, I would like to read out some of the financial results of the company, and of course, in the process also announce how much you'll be getting as individual profit-sharing margins or values. Fiji Airways made its highest ever profit of $70.2 million, an increase of 15.5% from 2014 in the year 2015. The company's revenue increased by 6.3% to $815.3 million, compared to $767.4 million in the previous year. The airline carried 1.3 million passengers in 2015, compared to 1.2 million the year before, an increase of 7.4%. The airline surpassed all previous benchmarks for profits and growth, with load factor up by 0.1 points and revenue per available seat kilometer, or RASK, by 1.3%. Of course, at the same time, costs have been controlled without compromising service. All international markets performed strongly for the group, with core markets in Australia and New Zealand delivering very good returns, coupled with strong growth with Hong Kong and Los Angeles. Of course, now we will see entry into the Singapore market, which I'd like to talk a bit more, and of course, San Francisco. Fiji Link's regional and domestic services also contributed positively to the group performance. What this means, essentially, ladies and gentlemen, that you'll now share in the rewards with profit share and management bonus as follows. All eligible non-management staff of Fiji Airways and Fiji Link will receive a profit share payout of $3,300 each, which is 10% higher than the 2014 level of $3,000. Of course, it's subject to tax and superannuation deductions. All eligible Fiji Airways and Fiji Link managers will receive a management bonus of not less than $7,700, or minimum of 10% higher than 2014 levels, subject to tax and of course superannuation deductions. Ladies and gentlemen, as I highlighted, that this is completely unprecedented. You are the only company in Fiji that actually has the staff share in the profits that the company actually generates. And indeed, we use you as a benchmark, and when we do talk to other state-owned enterprises, we always talk about how they could become like Fiji Airways. Your profit share, of course, has increased, like I highlighted, from last year by 10%, and this is obviously quite significant. And as I also highlighted, this could not have happened if it wasn't for your contribution, if it wasn't for the new management practices that have been put in. And indeed, we would like to believe that there is a lot more room for changes, further changes and further reforms to ensure that the company becomes a lot more sharper in its financial performance, in its delivery of service, and in fact, job creation. You now have the fourth A330 that has now come on stream. There is obviously potential for Fiji now to grow a lot bigger, a lot better through Fiji Airways itself. The connectivity with Singapore, which the inaugural flight was just held last week, presents enormous opportunities for the airline, but also for the country. I mean, traditionally, when we talk about new routes, essentially we're talking about tourism. But we would like to suggest there's a lot more than tourism that is on offer by connecting to Singapore. Of course, Singapore offers now a greater or much easier access to the second largest outbound market in the world, which is India. India in the next 5 to 7 years will bypass or surpass, I should say, China. You're looking at, even if you get 0.5% of the share of that market, you're looking at enormous numbers. Singapore as a hub obviously offers enormous opportunities in connectivity into Southeast Asia, connectivity into Middle East, and of course countries like Africa. From government's perspective, the ability to have a small Pacific Island nation connect to every single continent that rims the Pacific Ocean except South America, it is a very, very significant space, very significant position to be in. Because it gives us the ability as a country, as a government, as a people, to be able to tell to the rest of the world that we are not left out from the rest of the world. We are able to tell the rest of the world that if you want to come to Fiji, if you want to set up a regional office, if you want to set up a multilateral agency, you come to Fiji. Because Fiji offers you the connectivity. A donor, a multilateral organization that's based in Europe can now fly from Europe to Singapore immediately to Fiji. Of course you have Hong Kong. It offers alternative routes. But the reality is that your ability to market yourself as a national carrier and significantly as an international carrier is greatly enhanced by the very fact that you will be flying to Singapore, or you're already flying to Singapore. And you now will be flying to San Francisco. But you've done all of this. You've done all of this without busting your budget. You've done all of this by partnering with the government. As you know, the government in this year's budget has partnered with the airline to the tune of about $18 million to bring about that level of trajectory that Fiji Airways needs to break into the Southeast Asian market and beyond. So the opportunities are enormous, ladies and gentlemen, and I would like to urge you not to fall into the trap of the past, not to fall into the practices of the past. Just as we are reforming, for example, the civil service, just yesterday we were with one of the consultants from the World Bank because we've asked them to review, for example, the remuneration packages, the remuneration salary for everybody in the civil service, right from the driver, right up to the higher management level. Because we believe that people need to be rewarded and given the right salary package, whether you're a junior staff, whether you're senior staff. That we are able to do only if we are able to get that level of efficiency, proficiency, and merit-based appointments within the civil service. The same rule applies, ladies and gentlemen, to your organization. The same rule applies to any other organization in Fiji if we want to become a modern nation state. If we want to be able to go to the next level. If we want people to come to Fiji and say, what a great place. Great service, you experience the airline as soon as you jump on the airline. Service is fantastic, the airport is efficient, the roads are good, I can get and drink my pina colada within 3 hours of jumping on the plane from Auckland. That is significant. for somebody a business traveler to be able to fly in from Singapore, from Hong Kong, from LA, from San Francisco, and to say the connectivity is good. And in fact, maybe I will now fly to Fiji from Singapore to go to LA. Because I can take perhaps a 2-day break in Fiji. 70%, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's the growth. 70%, ladies and gentlemen, of our population, or to be accurate, it's about 69.4% of our population is below the age of 40. So 70% of the population is below the age of 40. 54% of the population is below the age of 30. These people are the future. How we engineer ourselves as a country, and the reason I'm talking to you about this is because national carrier plays a very significant part. How we engineer this to cater for this particular demographic in our country is very, very important. Some of you will have children, some of you already have children, some of your children will become and grow and become adults. What kind of future do we want for them will actually be determined as to how we have state-owned enterprises and national carriers like Fiji Airways develop themselves. So I'd like to, ladies and gentlemen, leave you with that message and thank you very, very much, very, very sincerely, that it is with your contribution, with your focus, and I believe if you continue with that, do not get distracted by the past or those who talk about the past, and focus on a new vision. You have a CEO who is very forward-looking, enormous experience and ability to reflect in terms of where we can take Fiji Airways. We have a wonderful opportunity. As I've spoken to Andre about it, we want Fiji Airways and the board to invest in you, to get you the right training, to develop your individual skill sets, for you to be able to not just be a self-fulfilling, self-satisfying employees of the organization, but also to be able to get the best out of you to contribute to the organization. So that is the focus, ladies and gentlemen. And if we have that focus, this airline has in fact no bounds in respect of its ability to go forward. So thank you very much for your contribution. It gives us, it makes us feel very, very good to be able to be associated with Fiji Airways in such a profound manner, and we wish to contribute to the airline, of course, in the future. And I thank you once again. Okay, let's go.
3 cheers for Fiji Airways.